Welcome in. It is Breakdown 502. This is your boy Raashaan Myers coming to you live from the palatial shiny studios of Wake Up 502, Breakdown 502, Main Event Sports, and every other thing. So glad you are here, joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Roman Kelly, Romy Bean. Roman, good evening, brother. How you doing? It's been a wild, I guess, couple weeks now. Week and a half, whatever's been going on. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Raashaan. I've had a lot of things happening in the last couple of days. Yeah, Friday was an interesting day for me, but we've been trugging along, networking, doing the whole rubbing of elbows as much as we can, reestablishing some of those older connections we made earlier on in the sports media career. I obviously am the in-game host now for the Bats as well upon the conclusion of the Kings season. So that's been something new that I've been doing. Luckily, we had that happening, which, we're not completely dead in the water here. So that's been nice, getting more involved there, trying to make that more of my groove, because it literally took me about 4 Kings games. By that 4th home game, I really, really started to have it down, my own twist to each hit, not going based on the script. I was never really going word for word from the script, but I was taking a couple words out and reading it and just adding a few things at the end. While the last 2 games of the Kings season, I was fully improving, not having any cue cards, really doing my own thing out there for each activation. So it's going to take me a while before that happens with the Bats, Raashaan. But here, after 3 or 4 games or so, we've only done one official by myself. I've gotten to shadow a few times and be in the works for a few of them, but one official game under my belt with the Bats. May have something lined up in Cincinnati for another in-game host opportunity.
Really?
We'll just tease that. Something we'd have to make the drive for their games, but we'll tease that and see what unfolds before we give any more details out on that. So that's exciting. But Raashaan, should I get right into it?
Absolutely. Please do. Please do.
So, I'm going to do this as professionally as I can, just because there's no reason to not to. Everybody goes through what they go through, but I was laid off on Friday from the radio station I was working at. And, like 60 seconds after my radio show ended, Running with Roman, I was informed, and it was effective immediately, which companies have that happen. It's not an abnormal thing. It's unfortunate. I think there's some reasonings behind it that were just didn't feel really genuine, but nevertheless, everybody's got to do what they've got to do in this sports media realm. Louisville specifically, it can be tough. So I guess what I'm saying is, a part of me can understand why something like that can happen, but still, at the end of the day, it was tough to stomach, just because you've been doing this for a few years and you gain your own radio shows. Granted, they weren't very long. Running with Roman and the Ticket Puncher show were half-hour shows, but still, it was my airtime. The podcast numbers suggested that those shows did well, so it feels like a little that losing those felt like a smack in the face a bit. Obviously, I had already moved off of the Mike Rutherford show and into an earlier shift where I wasn't really a direct co-host like I was on that show, because it was a Kentucky show and Hoosier Report or Indiana show where I was just producing and being a person on the mic when needed for the shift change I made. So not a big change there, but losing my shows is tough. That's part of it. I was not fired. Was definitely unexpectedly out of nowhere laid off. Just want to let anybody who is listening out on that information, so we can get that established, Raashaan. But got some things in the works, right? I was able to make a lot of connections in the city in my 2.5, 3 years at the radio station I worked at. So I think there is a pathway to some potential airtime for me here in the near future. It looks like, obviously, with a different station. We're going to be doing the Real Spiel thing, Raashaan. We're kind of copying ESPN to an extent. It's the Real Spiel podcast channel that has specific shows within it, right? We're going to have an NBA, NFL, NCAA basketball, NCAA football, all 4 of them going on at once, plus our live show where, Raashaan, you've been a special guest where we'll keep that the UofL centric show. So we'll have 5 shows going into the fall on the Real Spiel channel, which is super, super exciting for me. We're going to get into the short form content creation aspect of, get into it, get consistent with it is what I should say, because that's where a lot of, quote unquote, going viral happens these days. But not even that, just growing your following. You got to have the people who don't know you're seeing your stuff too. So we're going to get into more consistent with all of that. We've been coaching at Doss, JV head coach right here to the soccer team. So feeling sore, feeling a little wore out today, but yeah, we're making it happen. We're getting our hand in whatever we can, Raashaan. Not going to let anything stop me from achieving what I can feel is greatness in this sports media realm and career. Obviously, coaching's not media, but I'm a soccer guy. I want to do the play-by-play thing in the soccer realm at the pro level one day on top of the NBA level, getting into ways where I can get that soccer background established outside of my high school playing career is what you got to do if you want to do that. So that's what we're doing, Raashaan. That's what it's been. It feels a little bit unfortunate. I say losing my shows. I didn't, obviously, no one's telling me not to go in there on Saturday mornings for the Wake Up 502 show. But when something like that happens, you're gonna keep yourself off of those airwaves. So we're gonna keep the main event. My main event airtime is gonna be on the Breakdown 502 and when we chat with Raashaan on the Real Spiel stuff and in-person, in-game stuff when we do our main event sports, we're going to have an exciting year for you guys. So, I've turned a page, I flipped the page, and I'm ready to see how life goes and what presents itself. Sorry for a little bit of a ramble to intro the show here with nothing UofL related at all, but that is what it is.
No, I appreciate that. And, first of all, I definitely understand with the moves you're making, you got to make the best decisions for you. But just know that, the door is always open if you want to pop in there on a Saturday morning. I always have, folks coming in and coming on the show, special guests. So you are always welcome. The chair is always yours. If you, big news breaks or if anything happens, I got your back. So, just
that, yeah, we'll once we get some things established and some changes made, we'll definitely be back on the Wake Up 502 airwaves at the very least. I can't, me and Raashaan, I plan to be speaking with you and communicating with you and debating with you. And, I feel like 70% of the time we agree, but I love that 30% of the time when we don't. And I plan to have that for the rest of my media career, whether I'm in Louisville or not, or doing radio or not. So I'm excited to know that I can always count on you for that. And I really appreciate you for that.
For sure. Absolutely. And that brings us to tonight's conversation. It's going to be a two-parter. We got a couple of big basketball news to talk about, one on the collegiate side, one on the professional side. So, of course, Romy Bean knows all, pays attention to NBA as much as anybody, not named Raashaan Myers. So I got to get your thoughts on everything tonight, Rome. But it seems like it's official now. So we got to talk about it. The Louisville, Kentucky fans have basically been in a civil war over the last about 7 days. Okay, just talking about Milan Momcilovic and what was going to happen with his commitment. Of course, Milan did finally make it official for Kentucky. Got the bag, went to Lexington, did what I figured he would do. I mean, I talked about it on Saturday morning on Wake Up 502, that to me, if it would have been my son with the numbers that were being thrown around, even if, regardless of how big a, Louisville fan that, me and my family is and my son is, if he was getting that type of offer from UK, I would be sending him to UK. I would personally drive him and drop him off at Mark Pope's front door. So I definitely understand why Milan made the choice to go ahead and commit to the University of Kentucky. But now it looks like from the sounds of it and from the media postings that have been put out from both sides, it seems like both rosters, Roman, are pretty much complete. So, we pretty much have, what Louisville and Kentucky are going to look like for next year in basketball. And I just wanted to kind of break it down because there's been a lot of conversation, about the rosters and who's better and who has the better lineup. And I just want to get your thoughts on, first of all, before we get into the matchups of one versus the other, now that the rosters are finalized, how do you feel, how do you feel about the Louisville roster? Because, we are still Louisville first show. So give Cardinals first right of
Yes,
conversation. How are you feeling about Louisville now that we know who those guys are going to be? There's a possibility that there may be a late add, maybe a freshman or, some lower major player being added just for depth. But with the 11 guys, we know who the 11 main players are going to be. How are you feeling about the teams right now?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great about Louisville's roster, Raashaan. I'm not even like, if I'm just somebody who knows college basketball as a neutral, and you'd say you were able to take away every detail and thought I could know about Louisville basketball the last 2 years, and I just look at this roster, I don't know what was needed based on the play style from the coach. I don't know what was needed based on lacking and or any issues that they may have had the last couple of years or where they lacked on the personnel level. But if I just looked at this roster as somebody that knows all of the players that were playing college basketball last year and what we've got this year, it is a very, very well-rounded and versatile roster that has the opportunity to play in multiple types of ways. I think that's obviously kind of something that's been said the last couple of years, but the last couple of years you've lacked that size, and outside of your key 5-6 guys, you couldn't really say that from top to bottom on those rosters. So I feel like that's where kind of one of the main changes comes in when you do look at what's been different the last few years. But if you just take just this roster into account, I think this is one of the 8 or 9 best rosters top to bottom, if I'm being honest, in college basketball. It feels like we keep getting put in that 10, 11, 12, 13 range, but I don't think there's 12 teams top to bottom better than us. I think there's probably 7, maybe 8, but that's really all about I can give out. And that is an extremely exciting feeling about your Louisville men's basketball team, Sean. I haven't felt that way about us ever. It's different. It's one way feeling like, I feel like we're one of the 3 or 4 best teams in our region or something like that. That's one thing. But this is like you have the opportunity to do something special when you are already getting grouped in those kinds of categories at the start of a season. When's the last time? I mean, I would have to go do a little bit of research. When's the last time we were top preseason top 10, top 11, top 12?
Yeah, I mean, it's back-to-back years where Louisville has been either in or
last year.
with
I guess you're right. Yeah, last year. Duh. But I mean, it's easy to forget that when you watch it, when you felt how the season goes. But we were up there last year. Were we 8th? Were we 8th or 9th?
Our 8th, 9th. Well, no, I think preseason AP. I think we ended up at like 11th. I think that we were right outside. Then I think Kentucky was maybe 9th. Then we beat Kentucky and kind of flip-flopped.
That's right.
And
then it kind of stayed below that for the remaining season. That's right. But we're back there again, and it feels like we're kind of not getting enough credit just because it's a full reload. I feel like the teams that do the full reload thing outside of like Michigan don't get a lot of credit because it's just continuity is such a key thing. Now we did bring back a couple of guys, and I think that's key in success going forward with college basketball. But you brought back one key contributor, and one that there's a lot of question marks on, who I'm still excited about in London Johnson. But Raashaan, I'm feeling good. And when I compare it to what you have on the Kentucky side, the addition of Milan Momcilovic is very, very huge for that offense. And that's my next point. It feels like it's very huge for that offense, and it doesn't change this team defensively, if not putting a player on the floor who's going to be one of your, not one of your 2 or 3 best defenders at any time he's on the floor, more times than not. It's a weird fit in that aspect for me, but the offense needed that level of shooting. Now, I mean, when you think about like Milan Momcilovic being your best, like, is he going to be your best player on offense? Needs to be more than just shooting threes, I think. I'm not saying he needs to be playing in the pick and roll and getting downhill, but they're going to have to do more than just get him open for catch and shoot threes. You're going to have to find ways to get him mid-range jump shots, get him floaters, get him running off the ball, and see if you can get him some pin downs to the lane on open looks because of the attention he brings as a shooter. Mark Pope has the ability to do that. It's the one thing he does have the ability to do. So I'm interested to see how positive, how excited, how on that end of the spectrum he can make this Kentucky basketball roster get to. How, like, I'm interested because I do think they're going to lack a lot defensively. I think that when you like look at like what's needed in college basketball, yeah, the bigs are coming back, the size is coming back, the ability to play versatile, have versatility in transition with get 2s and 3s, all of that, right? The best teams still have one guy out there who can go create no matter what, it feels like, even if that's just a smaller scorer off the bench that plays 16 minutes a game. It feels like everybody has that kind of elusive either go-to creator as a scorer on the wing or a guard who's that go-to get by his man and either get to the free throw line or can create for others. I don't really know where you're going to get that consistently on this UK roster either, and I think that's going to be maybe something Pope will have to be he'll have to dive into because I don't see that like every time he touches the rock, he can get downhill, he can get by his man kind of a threat on that roster. But maybe I'm not giving Zoom Diallo or somebody enough credit. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean,
but saying that, I still think that they're one of the best. They should be probably, it's kind of tough to gauge, right? They've got a bunch of new guys that a couple of them not as established as some of the guys we brought in. But I mean, I feel like, where do you rank them preseason?
I think that, of course, like for Louisville, I already was considering them to be done. The fact that Louisville was even a factor in the Momcilovic recruitment is just wild to me because I just did not think that, with the as stacked as the Louisville roster was, it just didn't make any sense that he was going to even be considering Louisville. It's just, I just thought that, especially after the commitment of Boyang Zhang, it just didn't make any sense because it was like we already have our big guy, kind of tweener forward shooter, even though, yes, I know he's coming out of high school from the international ranks, China by way of California. It just seemed like Louisville already had their rotation done, but the Momcilovic camp was, seriously considering the fact that they may have liked that fit a little bit more. But, the fit versus the money, and a decent fit at Kentucky just made too much sense. And I am fine with what Louisville had. I was fine with it already. I agree with you. I think that the only people that aren't putting Louisville in the top 10 for the team that they have assembled is because of Pat Kelsey, and because Pat Kelsey has not done it yet. And because if there was any other established coach that had this exact same roster, Roman, I feel like this would be a top 5 or top 16, period. Like I do. I just feel like who the coach is and, the fact that he's still awaiting to have big time success in the postseason at this level is the only reason why this Louisville team is not a lock top 10 team. I feel like they should be somewhere in the 6 to 9 range. I don't think they are. I mean, it's understandable because the way they try to do things is they try to project out, right? It's like when they're ranking it, they're not ranking it by saying, okay, let's see, how good we think this roster is. They're saying what the combination of the roster and the coach is how we're going to rank it. So you have teams like Michigan State that may not have the greatest roster, but have a really, really, really great coach. We're going to bump them up a few spots, and maybe a team that has a great roster, but a coach that's not really achieved much, we're going to probably bump them down a little bit. And I think Louisville's kind of getting that. And that's fine. That's okay. That's why I was okay with wherever they put Louisville. I mean, when they put Louisville outside the top 10, Louisville definitely had a, top 8 roster coming into last year, including Michael Brown. But I understood the whole point is like until Coach Kelsey proves it on the court, he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. But you go out there, you take care of business early. It doesn't matter. So I love what Louisville's roster is. We'll definitely get into the comparison with Kentucky in a little bit, but just in terms of what I like about this roster and how Coach Kelsey put it together, I don't feel like a lot of people are coming out here, Roman, and acting like Louisville put together a team full of bricklayers, a bunch of guys that can't shoot, that, can't have zero skill. Like they have all this size and all this defense, but no type of skill, no type of shooting, no type of passing ability. And that's just not true. Like if you look at the team that they put together, do they have more scorers and capable shooters rather than three-point specialists? Absolutely. Like there's not a Isaac McNeely. There's not a so somebody like Rain Smith. There's nobody like that that's just known for knocking down shots, and that's kind of the only thing they do, or the thing that they specialize in. But what they do have is a lot of guys that are very capable three-point shooters, and to me, that's all you need. Like, to me, I don't think you have to go out there. That was the one thing about what we should have learned from last year, Roman. Louisville went out there last year, got 40% three-point shooters last year. They got Woolley, they got McNeely, they got Ryan Conwell.
And then they couldn't get clean looks up.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you bring in, 40% three-point shooters from college and then another 40% three-point shooter from high school ranks in Michael Brown. If they can't generate good offense and good looks, it doesn't matter what their three-point percentage is. You have to be able to have a team that's well balanced enough to keep the defense on their toes and keep the defense honest to where those great shooters can get great looks. And that was the problem. Louisville had a bunch of great shooters, but the inability to create and generate great looks for those guys because they couldn't do anything but shoot. So basically every team just sat on the three-point line and was like, you all really can't do anything else, so we're just going to stay here. And that's where this Louisville team this year is much more balanced. They have guys that can attack you in the mid-range. They have guys that can attack you off the bounce at the rim. They have big men that can attack you inside when they receive the balling and can do damage, or guys that can attack you in the screen roll game, lob game to the basket. So when you have the ability to do all those things, yes, you may not have the 40% guys. And by the way, Roman, we still have one of those 40% guys. His name is Adrian Woolley. We still got one of the three that we brought in. Now, did Woolley shoot that well last year? No, he shot about 38%. The percentages fell a little bit, but a lot of that was based on the fact that you just weren't generating as many good looks. So who knows? Now that the offense is going to create easier catch and shoot opportunities, we may see that percentage shoot back up over 40%. But not only do you have Adrian Woolley, you have a lot of guys that are capable 36, 37, 38% three-point shooters. Alvaro Fulgaris, was shot over 40% at Robert Morris before he went to Iowa last year, where he shot right around 38%. You have Carter Knox, who shot about 36, 37% at Arkansas. Deshane Montgomery shot about 35, 36%. So you have, and Jackson Shellstad shot 37% this past year. The year prior, he was up at around 41% for Oregon. So you have a lot of guys that are capable three-point shooters, guys that if they catch and shoot and they're open, they can knock it down. And to me, Roman, that's all you need. You don't have to go out there. Like, I'd love to get him, Milan Momcilovic, a guy that shot 47, 48%. But I don't think you necessarily have to have that to be successful. Does that make sense?
I'm 100% with you, and here's why. When you have guys like Deshane Montgomery, guys like Jackson Shellstad, guys like Adrian Woolley, who can both be, if you can't stop me, I'm getting to the rim, and if you don't defend this right with this big, I'm going to be able to throw that lob up. Like, when you can do that, and then you can also play the game of even slower ball, get it down to the block. If you bring the double, we're gonna see if Flory can get two power dribbles in. whatever happens from that kick out, attack the closeout, right? We're going to have the ability to play those two types of different ways that can both generate clean looks if the defense, like the third option on both of those things is always going to be an open three because you left somebody too much space trying to over defend something going on. So lost Raashaan there for a second, or maybe we lost me, but got him back here, it looks like.
Yeah, sorry about that. I believe that was me. So please continue.
But yeah, I was just saying when you have that offense that's going to be able to attack defenses in multiple ways with the idea of getting clean twos, that's when the best three-point shots come. The best three-point shots in college basketball do not come when you're hunting three-point shots. Never, unless it's an inbounds, like, unless it's inbound plays and sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, those kinds of plays, yeah. Half-court offense, the teams that hunt the threes, they are typically not 40% shooting teams, right? So the 40% shooting teams are the teams that have the also really good 2-point field goal percentage, teams that also get to the free throw line at an extremely high level more times than not. And I think we have the ability to do that with the guys that we brought in. I mean, Zhang, Knox, Fulgaris, that you'll have out there stretching the floor. And you can play bigs, you can play double 7-footers if you want. You can go small ball if you want, Raashaan. I mean, There's going to be teams that play a little bit small. Like Carter Knox is going to have 6'9", 6'10", 280, 270 pounders out there on him occasionally. They're not going to be able to stay in front of him, and he's going to be able to attack that over and over until they make a change, right? If we do a little bit of a small ball thing, there's so many different options you're going to have with the size that you can play it at different positions. It's just a matter of our guards getting in tune with the Pat Kelsey system and getting their shot selection down pat in the Pat Kelsey system, because Shelstad's not the best ball handler in college basketball. He's about above average. Not the best shooter in college basketball. He's above average. Not the best slasher in college basketball, but he's above average for his position, and he's definitely above average for his size. So getting him ready, getting him being that well-oiled, the head of that well-oiled machine is going to be the first key. And then Adrian Woolley getting into his own, going in, getting to play true to himself as that guy off the ball, attacking the lack of attention that he's probably getting from a defense because of a Flory Badunga and a Jackson Shelstad pick and roll. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And I think that the fact that this year will be the first year where Louisville has 4 guys in the pivot. When you talk about Badunga, you talk about Akizi, you talk about Fulgaris, and you talk about Dines, where all 4 of those guys are excellent in the pick and roll. All 4 of those guys are pick your poison type guys in the pick and roll. Flory Badunga as a screen roll lob threat. Gabe Dines is a screen roll lob threat. Fulgaris is a pick and pop lob threat, as well as a threat at the rim.
That push shot he's got, the floater off if you don't step up on the short roll there, he can put those in. So
and Akizi can do all those things. And, his biggest thing is
excited for him.
He's so good. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people don't
reclassed and became the best big in the class.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good player, and I think the fact that he's going to be able to come in, he's not going to be asked to come in there and dominate immediately. The fact that he's going to be going, this is one of the things that I keep telling people. People talk about Flory Badunga and talk about him and Akizi going to war. I'm going to tell you what, Akizi's going to have to learn how to score on a veteran big man who's been around the block, and I don't know, is 7'5" and Gabe Dines. Like, how many times has Akizi had to deal with that? This is a guy who, is very smart, is very intelligent. He's been around the game. He knows how to play. He can play. He has good footwork. That's the type of guy that for a young freshman coming in, that's going to be hell to have to deal with. This is going to be a Louisville team where they're going to get so much better because of the competition. Like, I want to see.
Just about to say, Fulgaris getting switched on
Montgomery.
Fulgaris getting switched on to Knox, then getting switched on to Badunga, then having to guard Akizi, and then having to guard Dines. Like,
yes.
Fulgaris should be the best defender he's been in his entire career by the time we get game started.
Yes, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, that's going to be the thing. Like, our big men are going to be going to war every day for the next 4 months, getting ready for the fall. And just that gets me excited. It gets me excited because I think that Gabe Dines can be he can be a lot more than what he was at USC last year. It feels like there was a lot of meat left on the bone. And, I don't know if Eric Musselman really had a taste for wanting to learn how to figure that out. That's one of the reasons why, I think with the coaches that were brought in this offseason, I think, that we're going to see all these big men make big steps forward to make huge steps. Like I think that Gabe Dines and especially Abena Ekezie are two guys that are probably going to get the most out of the new coaching staff. I think that those two guys are people that were identified as players that they love their potential. They love the raw tools that they had to work with. And I think that they're going to be guys that are going to be pleasantly surprised. And those are the two other guys, right? Like those are the two guys that to me are coming off the bench that are learning and figuring it out and trying to get better. But when you can start with Alvaro Figueres and you can start with Flory Badunga as the head of the stakes, John Andershek is going to be smiling every day he walks into the Little Yum to get ready for this coming season because, he understands how to – I can't remember the big man for Florida that came off the bench, the big 7-footer. He's a big, nasty guy. I can't remember his name, but a guy like that, I feel like when Andershek looks at Gabe Dines, he's like, look, we're going to get you in the best, shape of your life. And all I want you to do.
Olivier Rio.
No, yeah, that's the big 7'9" dude. I was talking about the guy that Rio didn't play that much. It was the guy who came off the bench. It was like Hatton.
The other one. Okay. Yeah. From last year then.
Yes. Yeah, like he's going to tell you, Gabe, look, I need you to get nasty. I need you to get mean. And I need you to get aggressive. You're only going to be in there 2 or 3 minutes at a time. We need you to go hard. If you need to foul somebody, foul somebody. We don't want any layups at the rim. And we just want you to try to dunk on somebody every time you get the ball inside 4 feet, And I think that those little things, Roman, I really love about this team because it feels like, and I've said this before, all of these guys feel like they have an additional couple of steps up that they can make. It feels like Shelstad is not a finished product. He got hurt after his sophomore year. Junior year was just about incomplete. It feels like he has more that he can grow. Adrian Willie feels like he has another step or two he can grow. Like Deshane Montgomery is kind of the only guy that I feel is pretty much at what he's going to be. Like even Alvaro Figueres feels like he was here at Robert Morris, and at Iowa he came down to about here because he just was not asked to do a lot. He was asked to basically come in and be a small ball 5, where he was pretty much more of a 4-man that played as a playmaker at Robert Morris. So I feel like Figueres has another step up that he can take. Badunga's pretty much a finished product. You know what you're going to get with him. But outside of Montgomery and Badunga, it feels, Roman, like almost everybody else on this team has a lot of upward mobility while already being very good players, I
mean, I think Badunga, there's a variety of tough shots you should be able to make. There's the 6 to 8 foot offense I want to see be consistent and added to your game. You started doing it at the end of the season there for Kansas. I want to see it for us.
Hey, he did it at the NBA Draft Combine. Like I saw him go left hand hook, go right hand hook, made some nice plays, against, other guys that were out there looking to get drafted. I didn't realize that he had a nice post game like that to where, to me, I always thought he was pretty much dunk or nothing. But, the fact that he was able to finish with both the left and the right hand with a baby hook, if he can do that consistently, Roman, this year,
Yeah, he can average 16, 17 points if he can do that.
Yeah, because
if he can do that consistently. Because I expect him to be in that 12 to 13 points per game range.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about him. Like, to me, it feels like Flory Badunga is going to be able to get you 12 and 10, and you never have to run a play for him. Like, to me, I feel like he's going to get that off effort, hustle, offensive rebounds. So then, to me, his next 4 to 6 points if he can just have a couple of composed moves that he can, like you said, get to that 16, 17, 18
And
points
knock
per
his
game.
free throws down.
Yeah. I mean, that to me is the biggest thing for them. So, I mean, no, I love this Louisville roster. I love what they've put together. I think that, it's going to be fun to see how they put this there. And I've been waiting to see if there was going to be an announcement of, either some overseas or, summer trip type situations. I haven't heard anything about that yet. I keep checking on Cardinal Authority to see if there's any scuttlebutt. I feel like if that does happen, it's probably going to be announced within the next couple of weeks, I would guess. But we'll see. We'll see with that. Now, Roman, on to the other side, down the street, down 64. Milan Momcilovic made the commitment to the University of Kentucky. We know who the team is going to be now. Zoom Diallo, Alex Wilkins. There have been some people that have already come out and said that the trio of Zoom Diallo, Malachi Moreno, and Milan Momcilovic is going to be the best big three in all of college basketball. Well, I don't mean to laugh, Kentucky fans. Don't get mad. I'm just Roman. Tell me what you think about the. And look, don't
That's like
don't
a sickness.
me.
Like you have a sickness if you think that. You need help.
What do you think of the Kentucky roster?
You know that Michael Jordan video? The Michael Jordan video. Stop it. Get some help. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
You might have a top 5 trio in the SEC, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's if Milan carries everything over from last year's offensive game to this season's game, and maybe even upticks the efficiency, because you're gonna need it. And Zoom better be able to be a PG, because I don't know.
I mean, so what do you think about this group overall? Like, they're a team that the commitment of Momcilovic took Kentucky from the 17th rated portal class, moved them all the way up on 247 Sports from 17th all the way up to number 2. That one commitment jumped them well up there. What do you think about the guys overall? And, just in case, for those who have not been paying attention, Alex Wilkins, the 6'5" combo, combo guard that came over from Furman. You had Justin McBride coming over from James Madison, a 6'8" forward, kind of a tweener forward. Zoom Diallo, of course, from Washington, 6'4" point guard. Jerome Morton, a point guard from Washington State. Milan Momcilovic, as well as Fred Kepnang, big man from Washington as well. And then, of course, we know who the guys that are returning. You have Trent Noah, and then, of course, the big signing in Malachi Moreno, as well as Cam Williams. What do you think about this group? Like, do you feel like this has put, because, some Kentucky people are saying top 15 now. Do you think Milan jumps them that high, top 15, pushing between 15 and 10? Or, like, what do you think about them? Non-rivalry, Roman. I need your analysis hat, not your I hate Kentucky hat.
Yeah, non-rivalry, regular hat being worn. I'll say that it does. I'll say that it kind of like really right there at the cusp, Raashaan. I don't think it puts you like a top 13 or 12 team, if I'm being honest. No, I don't think that. But I think it puts you right there in that 13, 14 range, and you could argue 12 potentially, but I feel like it's closer to the 15 end than the 12 end for sure. Just because there's still a lot of question marks on how some of these play styles are going to mold together and where the defense is going to come from.
Yeah. I mean, that right there, Roman,
honestly, it's a Kentucky team that you're going to have to win games. You're going to have to score 92 points a game, and it feels like a Kentucky team that's going to score 80 plus one every 4 games, because you don't have a lot of consistent shooters outside of Milan. And I mean, I'm going to say it. I think Moreno's overrated. I don't think Malachi Moreno is top big in the SEC good like Kentucky fans are projecting him to jump and improve to. I get you can look at it. He's literally improved in every single year of basketball his entire life. Like I think that's a very impressive feat, especially from a kid from where he's from. But with that being said, Raashaan, I don't like the way he dribbles the basketball. Okay, the hat's starting to come on. I'm sorry, but I just think that I think that Malachi Moreno has a lot to improve to his game if he wants to be the cornerstone of the offense for this Kentucky system outside of Milan. So I just think that when you look at that as a number 2 option, it feels like, okay, there feels like there's a ceiling to what this team can be offensively, even though that's what the goal is going to be, a good offensive team that can maybe trend towards great offensive team with the coaches X's and O's, and if you get the literal best out of every player on the squad. I think if every player plays their best basketball this season and improves on what they were last year, then yeah, it's probably a top 12, top 13 team for sure. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen with these different offensive play styles and the lack of guaranteed defense you're getting in that starting lineup.
So I'll say this, and I agree with you. I'll start with Malachi Moreno, 7.8 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, about 1.8 assists per game, and then a block and a half a game. Solid numbers for a freshman. For a freshman that's starting and playing.
I would say good numbers for a freshman.
Solid. No, they're very solid. They're solid, not spectacular from Malachi Moreno. I think that. Coach Cal, Lord, I'm already calling Pope Cal. Mark Pope said, in one of his early, he did those videos to Big Blue Nation a little bit earlier last month where he was answering questions from the fans. And, he said that he expect that they're going to, go to and look to Malachi Moreno and play with him like he's the best big man in college basketball. To me, that's asking a lot. That's asking a big jump from a guy who showed promise as a solid starter in the SEC. But, I don't know.
He's not ready for that in year 2. That's a you can request that from him maybe his junior year, maybe. And by senior year, that could be a goal for with his size and athleticism. He can't shoot, Raashaan.
Yeah, I need to see a go-to move, offensive move, before I start crowning him. Right now, Malachi Moreno.
Exactly. If you don't have one of those back to the basket, you got to be able to dribble. And he doesn't have that confidence that I'm going to put the ball on the floor and get a bucket.
Yeah, I mean, they are a lot of the guys for Kentucky on this roster. They are expecting a lot of improvement. I think that's the biggest thing is there's a lot of potential on the roster. Alex Wilkins is a guy who was at Furman that had
the Wilkins pickup for sure.
He's a guy that has a lot of potential, but he was a super high usage guy at Furman. He had the ball in his hands all the time. People have asked, Zoom Diallo and Wilkins, can they coexist in the backcourt? Because both of those guys want to have the ball in their hand about 85-90% of the time. Yeah. So the question of how those two guys work together with two guys that are more score first type of players, deferring to Momcilovic and making sure that Milan is getting his touches. That's going to be something that, is going to have to be worked out. But I think offensively, Kentucky, when you have two dynamic ball handlers like Wilkins and like Diallo, you should be able to get to the rim. You should be able to create open looks for Momcilovic. So I expect that this Kentucky team should be able to be pretty explosive. I don't think we'll see the type of, Kentucky was a team last year, Roman, that would go on these 6, 7, 8 minute droughts and just be,
no reason for that. There's no reason for that too.
I don't think we'll have that.
They picked up Jalen Lowe. What'd they expect, Raashaan?
Yeah, fair. No, that's absolutely fair. I'll take Zoom Diallo over Jalen Lowe all day long.
Every day of the week. Every day.
So, to me, I think that Kentucky has a much better offensive basketball team than last year. Now, Usman Njai, the big man from Europe, I don't know what he is. I see highlights of him where, you got this 6'11", 7-foot guy shooting 35-foot threes and doing all this stuff. But then I look at the numbers and dude was shooting 29% from three. So I don't really know what he is, but, I believe that McBride is a little bit more of a known commodity. He's a little undersized for the power forward spot at 6'8", 230, 240. But, he's a little bit inside. He's a little bit outside. He's kind of like, to me, I would think that McBride would be almost a better Mo Diabate in terms of his offense. Like, I feel like he's going to be a little
dribbler. Yeah, better dribbler.
Better ball handler, better shooter. But
from three.
Yes, he shot about 40% from three last year. I think that he's going to be a stabilizer offensively. Like, to me, I feel like McBride is starting there. I don't think there's any way that Njai starts. I can see McBride, Momcilovic, and Moreno as your 3-4. Your three forwards in the front court, and then
it ends up there if it doesn't start there.
Yeah. Yeah, and Zoom and Wilkins in the backcourt. So I think that this Kentucky team has the chance to be really good offensively. I think they're going to get up and down. But the question is, Roman, the same question that Louisville had going into last year. A, what are they going to look like on defense? What's their toughness going to look like? And can they rebound the basketball? You just named,
true. Yeah, you're right, because they're not that much size. There's not a lot of athleticism without the guys that aren't big. They're not crazy athletic. That's a good point. That's a good point there.
It's like I think Kentucky is going to have to go into these games trying to outscore people and it's tough because the SEC is an extremely physical league. It's a big, physical, rough and tumble, athlete-led league. And Kentucky's going to come out here, and honestly, they're going to have to do a lot of what they did in year one, where Kobe Bryant, Jackson Robinson, Ansley Almanor, they were going to have to go out there, spread it out, get up and down, and just try to outscore teams. And I think that's what Kentucky's going to have to do because I don't, look at this. I mean, people got to understand. Otega Oweh's gone. Otega Oweh was the best on-ball defender in the SEC. Denzel Aberdeen was upper echelon defender on the perimeter in the SEC. Mo Diabate, for all the issues he had offensively, dude was physical on the
most
backboard.
Athletic guy in the SEC.
Very physical in the paint, could rebound, could defend, could throw his body around. I don't see any tough guys on this team. I guess the Fred Kepang. I guess the big man from Washington. I guess that's what he's bringing. Kepnang, I think is how you say his name. I guess he's gonna be that. But like, how many minutes is he gonna play with Malachi Moreno?
I don't know.
So like, to me, that's the question is like the physicality, toughness. I've not been a fan of Mark Pope's defensive sets and game plans. That's been my biggest issue is that you had, I just talked about the superlative defenders that Kentucky had on last year's roster. But guess what, Roman? Defensively, Kentucky's defensive rankings weren't great in the SEC. And that's even though you had some standout individual defenders. So I feel like this is a Kentucky team that's going to have to be like, we got to get to 90. We got to find a way to get to 88, 90, 92 points, and that's how we're going to win games. We're probably going to get bullied on the backboard a little bit. We're probably not going to be the best defensive team.
Be ready to give up 80 every game.
Yeah, they're going to try to win games 92 to 80. And that's what they're going to, to me, that's what they're going to try to do. And will that work?
No, Louisville just tried it. Louisville just tried it for a year and a half. Don't do it.
The only difference between this Kentucky team and what Louisville was last year, because a lot of people will say, well, Isaac McNeely had all these struggles. Well, that's true, but Isaac McNeely wasn't 6'9". Like, I think that because Momcilovic is so much taller and he's a very good off-balance shooter, I can see him being able to mitigate a lot of that. So I don't think he'll have some of the issues that Isaac McNeely had. So I think that Kentucky can play the up and down game. I just don't know how good that's going to be unless they can do a lot more. They need to surprise me defensively because I think that in theory, they have a good offensive team, Roman, but it just feels like I don't know where the defense is going to come from. Like, there's not one guy in that starting lineup that I say, okay, yeah, there's your good defender. I don't know if they even have that guy on the bench.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm
I
working
don't. I
on
like
it.
not one. Like last year, you had the idea that Jaden Quaintance was going to come in and be this superlative defender. Of course, we know what happened with him and the injuries. But I mean, you have Cam Williams returning. I don't think about defense when I think about Cam Williams. When you have Trent Noah returning, I don't think of him as a great defender. Even Malachi Moreno, one of the things that Moreno has to get a lot better at was getting bullied. When like big men would bully him, knock him out of the way and score at the rim, he's got to get a lot tougher. So I think that for me is my question mark, and that's not fan. That's not rah-rah. That is me looking at the pieces as they stand. I think that offensively, this is going to be a team that's going to be a lot more comfortable for what Mark Pope wants. Outside of, I feel like Wilkins and Diallo aren't as good as shooters as Pope would have liked, but I think you can mitigate that because you do have Cam Williams, you do have Trent Noah, and of course you have Milimov Chilovic, who can knock it down. So they will be a little bit better, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I still think that this Kentucky team is a fringe top 25, top 20 team, somewhere in the 20 to 25 range. I don't even know if I'd put them inside the top 20 until I see how much these guys improve. I know they were supposed to have an overseas trip. It looks like that trip is not going to happen now, and that's unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen that, but it looks like for some reason Pope decided he wanted to go to the Holy Land for his trip, and even though they're in the middle of like a war zone, I don't know why that's where he wanted to do his overseas trip to, but it sounds like that's not going to happen. But all right, so now we've broken down both rosters, Roman. Give me your thoughts. Louisville versus Kentucky. I've heard Kentucky people say that, they're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like outside of saying that they thought that Badunga was a push, Kentucky is arguing that they're better at every spot. What are you thinking about that? Let's just go from the top. Let's go ahead and just break it down position by position. Jackson Shelstad versus Zoom Diallo. Who you taking, or is it a push?
I think it's a push. I think that's going to be your he has the size to do a lot of good things that you need to do in the SEC to be a good team. And he's got the athleticism to do it as well with his speed.
Both
So
Big Ten
I think
players that should be in the Pac-12.
I think that, you kind of expect I think he'll be the second leading scorer on the team. So I'll go push here just because I think Shelstad will be arguably the best shooter on a Louisville team that will be one of the, I project, top offenses in college basketball. So it's tough. I gotta go push. I gotta go. Shelstad's probably the better playmaker overall. Zoom is a passer, but he's not a pass first necessarily kind of guy, but neither one of them really are. Zoom probably the better at getting to the free throw line. Shelstad probably has the more versatile scoring game. So I'll go push.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree. I think that, Zoom's bigger, more physical. He's going to be able to get to the rim, like you said, get fouled, be aggressive, attacking downhill. I think that what Shelstad brings in terms of his leadership, tough shot making, he is the better shooter between the two. I think that he's better in terms of generating steals and turnovers is Shelstad. So I think that, I think a push. I think that that's fair. What about at the 2 spot? We got your boy, Adrian Woolley. I'm giving Woolley the starting spot, Roman Kelly, even though that could easily be Deshane Montgomery. I'm not ready to concede that Montgomery's not going to be the starter, but let's just, for kicks and giggles, we're going to say Adrian Woolley's your starter there versus Alex Wilkins at the 2 spot. Who you like?
I mean, obviously, so this one's tough because people are going to say, well, what you're saying about Woolley, we didn't see him do that at UofL. We saw him do that as a freshman. I still think we saw him capable of it. We saw what he is capable of in a UofL jersey last season. Saw some.
He scored 24 points against Michigan State in the NCAA tournament.
17 against Miami right before the tournament started. Like the two of the most physical teams we played this season, he had 2 of his best games on the season. Right? He's got the strength. It's just a couple of things. It's a matter of him getting that right hand, like the confidence in creating with the right hand and finishing with the right hand. He's got to have that. He was better than Ryan Conwell was. I'm not going to mix him up. But he still has to add that to his game. And Raashaan, it's that he's not the kind of shooter that can shoot off the dribble. He needs to be catching, pump fake, you blow by, he sidesteps, or he maybe one dribble and lets it fly. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Even though we saw him make one of the best shots of the season off of a step back, even then, I think that came off like a 2-dribble movement. He needs to be making those quick decisions where he is not the center of attention while he's even making that decision, right? If there's a screen and roll, like we run that off ball weird diagonal Spain action Pat Kelsey likes to roll, and he sometimes will run it on both sides or whatever. I expect Woolley to be an avid scorer in the system on that kind of stuff. When Shellstad's trying to create for the 7-footers that you're trying your hardest to stay in front of, guess who's out there lurking on the paint, making sure he's got a little angle next to his man, whose man's not maybe giving him all the attention he needs to, ready to catch and fly to that rim, catch, pump fake, one sidestep, shot, up, 3. Like I just think that Woolley's going to be one of the better scorers in the ACC. I'm projecting him to be a 13-point per game, 14-point per game kind of scorer on this Louisville team, Raashaan, and I'm going to give him the nod over Alex Wilkins. I think Alex Wilkins is probably the better finisher at the rim. Just because Woolley got we saw the block numbers. People tell me he got a shot block more than anybody in Division I basketball. I need to go look that up too. I don't even know if that's true. got told that a couple times though, but
I feel like that was Ryan Conwell. Ryan Conwell definitely got his shot block more than Adrian Woolley.
Yeah, so that's what we got to deal with there. Just him improving on those certain things, but we know he can do it. We know he's going to know the system even better. He's going to be one of the better on-ball defenders for this team. So I got to give him the nod. He's a better all-around basketball player.
Yeah, I'm going to take Woolley in this one as well. I think that Wilkins is a very talented prospect. I think he's a little too light in the ass right now. I think that Woolley, bigger, stronger, definitely a better defender, better shooter. Wilkins is more dynamic downhill. He's more explosive getting to the basket and being able to finish. He's a very creative finisher, nice mid-range pull-up as well. I like his game. Maybe by the end of the year, maybe I'm taking Wilkins over Woolley, just depending on how they develop. But I
feel like Wilkins is one of those weird Pope's going to somehow get him up to 37% somehow,
Yeah, like he's definitely a guy that I could see improving. And I think that he's got the potential to get a lot better. I definitely like Alex Wilkins as a potential player. But to me, the same growing pains that Woolley had stepping up from Kennesaw State to the ACC, Wilkins could have some of those same issues stepping up from the Furman up to the SEC. So, I like the fact that Woolley has that experience under his belt, and I love the way he finished. Like his last 2 weeks of, the regular season and the NCAA tournament, he was playing his best basketball at the end of the year. So until I see Wilkins do it at that level, give me Adrian Woolley. Third spot, Cam Williams for Kentucky. I'm going to give him the nod at the 3 spot. I don't think Kentucky is going to go with the bigger lineup. You could put Momcilovic there at the 3 and go with the 3 bigs, but I just don't see that happening, at least early. I know I talked about the fact that you could have Momcilovic and McBride. Well, let me ask you, which way do you think Kentucky is going to go? Do you think they're going to go Cam Williams, Momcilovic, Moreno, or do you think they'll go Momcilovic, McBride, Moreno?
I think they'll go They'll start Cam Williams.
Yeah, I agree.
Start Cam Williams, Milan, Moreno, and they'll realize that that's not going to work. With McBride playing the way that he can play in that system, with the floor being spaced out and him having space to move, he'll earn that starting spot, and they'll be better defensively. So.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I think that they will go with the experienced guy. I think they want to make sure they get Cam Williams out there as a returning guy. He knows the system. He's been through.
He's going to have to get going offensively for this team to be good. That's going to be. We need him to be our third guy. That's so mindset. So
I can see that. So let's go with it then. So you got Cam Williams at the 3 spot for Kentucky. We have Carter Knox at the 3 spot for Louisville. Who are you taking in this one? This should be interesting.
Oh, this one is tough. I think offensively all around with the shooting that you saw from three from Cam Williams late in the season when he really started finding a groove in that system, I think you got to give him the nod as the overall better shooter. I think Knox had a better percentage last season, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go look that up, but I think Cam Williams is the better shooter, right? So I think that's and which is debatable still, but I think that's the nod you give him. Raashaan Knox, unless it's a Chucky Hepburn or a Michael Brown, he can guard 1 through 5, and unless that 5's a Gabe Nines or an Okezie, he can guard those. He can guard Flory Badunga.
Yeah.
Knox may be one of the most versatile defenders in the ACC. I hate to make these brash kind of drastic statements like that about players before we've even seen them in the damn jersey, but I really do think that what you had to defend in the SEC at his position specifically in the SEC, is just a tough one. And he was able to
and by
score
the way,
through those
Roman,
guys.
Carter Knox shot just a shade under 38% from three. Cam Williams was right under 36%. So yeah, Carter
so
Knox
Knox
was
has the better
2 percentage
percentage. I feel like just Cam Williams is the better catch and shoot, quicker shooter. So you know that he'll probably get more three-point attempts per game going into this season, right? And the person earning those attempts is typically the better shooter. So that's just kind of the only reason I say that. I think that the tough shot making ability goes to Knox, right? When you look at what he can do in the mid range from 2 and what he can do in that 6 foot, 8 foot and in range from the rim. One, he's jumping out of the gym. He'll dunk on your head if you're not careful, but he can also hit those tough floaters and those tough leaners when the possession really comes down to the nitty gritty, and he ends up with in the shot clock type stuff. So love to have a player who can face up and go back to the basket as a wing guy, right? You can put him down in the mid range and he can just kind of seal his man like Javon Hadley used to do, even if that's for the sake of him, just because he established a cross match on the way down. He able to seal a guard in, little things like that, right? That are going to just be able to change your offense because you're confident with every single player having the ball. I think defensively, because of how much better of a defender I believe he is, that's just kind of why I have to give him the nod overall. But then I think there's a couple of things he can do better, not better, more so than Cam can do offensively. I'll give Knox the nod.
Yeah, I think
we just prefaced, we think they start like this. I believe Milan Momcilovic will be the small forward before season's end. So obviously, I would give the nod to Milan there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. It's so close between these two. I'm almost gonna say push, just because I love Cam. The way Cam Williams was playing before he broke his foot. He was playing very well. He was finally coming into his own.
He's our best scorer.
His form, I mean, he was knocking it down. He unfortunately got hurt. He was never able to kind of get it back up and going once he got back. Carter Knox, same thing, got injured. I like Carter Knox's game because of his motor. Like Cam Williams is a guy that I don't know. He doesn't always seem like he's always
got to be right. The vibe's got to be right. If the team's getting deflections, getting stops, and everybody's amped up, Cam Williams going to be amped up. Team looks like they're deer in the headlights. He's going to be right there alongside with them, looking like it.
Yeah, like that's my thing. And Carter Knox is a dude that always plays hard. I said it today on Twitter when talking about the breakdowns of the different player profiles when Louisville announced it today. The thing about Carter Knox and the thing I love about Flory Badunga, both of those dudes are competitive dogs. Like their motors never stop. I mean, Carter Knox literally goes so hard he hurts himself. Like that's been one of the issues with him, is that he's diving after loose balls. He's, first to the floor. He's just always putting his body in harm's way. And, for a kid of his talent level to just always play that hard, you have to love that. So I was going to say push, but give me a slight lean to Carter Knox just because of the fact that he plays hard all the time. And sometimes it felt like Cam Williams wasn't always there. He kind of disappeared. So I'll go slight lean to Carter Knox as well on that one. All right, the 4th spot, Louisville, Alvaro Fulgaris, the big man out of Iowa. Of course, Milan Momcilovic. I'm guessing we're going Momcilovic in this one.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Milan,
Figueres is a power forward version of Ali Khalifa that doesn't have that level of limitations,
yes, yes, yeah.
and a better jump shot. So
yeah, I mean, Alvaro Figueres will star in his role at Louisville, and he will be asked to be a pick and roll guy, pick and pop guy, be a creator in the screen roll game. Back cuts, backdoor bounce passes, things of that nature. He's a better athlete than Ali was, so you won't have any of the conditioning concerns. You won't have any of those types of situations. Figueres can be a guy that if you give him the ball and you need a bucket, he can go get a bucket at 16.
Don't sleep on him as a help defender now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he's a very good player all around. Like, to me, Iowa did him a disservice by how they played him last year. I don't think that you saw nearly what you can.
He's not Jokic. Just because he can make the passes doesn't mean he need to be the hub.
No, and he was coming out. He was supposed to play the 5. He was basically stuck either in the corner or down low most of every game, where he played out on the perimeter, pretty much all the time at Robert Morris.
Extended, elbow extended. Yeah.
Like, it was just the way Iowa used. I just don't think that Iowa did a great job of using him that way. That being said, Milan Momcilovic is going to be a preseason All-American, first or second team. He's the best shooter in college basketball.
He's good fundamentally as well. He can make passes. He can make
fundamental. He's tougher than you would think. He can bow up and be physical down low if he needs to be defensively. TJ Otzelberger is one of the best.
Very fast, but yeah, he definitely is. I didn't think about that. He's no slouch defensively, but he's not.
He's very physical and he's got good size. He's got good size. 6'8", 6'9", 220, 225 pounds. He's not going to get bullied and pushed around. He's a great player. He's a great player. He will definitely help Kentucky. And I give him the nod. I will not lie to you. I will love to see those two go out there against each other, because two guys of similar size, they both want to kind of be big dancing bears with the ball in their hands. So it'll be a fun matchup watching them go out there. So, give me Milan.
Spaniard versus the Balkan. Yeah, that'll be fun. I like that.
I love it. But and last but not least, in the post, in the pivot, you got the two guys that returned from the NBA Combine, decided to come back.
Flory. Golly. When we play and we get our first dub down in Rupp Arena for I don't know how many years, since it's been 13 years or whatever since it's been since we won.
Since 2008. Last time was,
I thought it was 2011 or 12 maybe or something.
It has been since 2008. Last time Louisville won. T. Will was on campus.
T. Will, you're right. That's changing this year, Raashaan, and Flory Badunga putting Malachi Moreno in his pocket is going to be one of the main reasons to why.
Yeah. I got
Moreno can be the better offensive player. He can be the better shooter. He can, be the I can't even give him better back to the basket player, but I have to because he's shown more of that, right?
Yeah.
12 feet away, face up, put the ball on the floor and get by your man and get a 2. Guess who I'm picking 9 times out of 10? Flory Badunga. So as much as let's put it like this. Malachi Moreno is the better offensive player. Flory's the better defensive player significantly. Flory probably beats the man one-on-one.
I don't even know if Malachi is the better offensive player. To me that
jump threat and how exactly the jumper is not consistent and it's a lot of the right wrist is doing something weird in it too. I'm no shooting coach, Malachi, but we can get in the lab. I can help you out. I can show you a thing or two with the way that jumper looks at certain times, right? If he doesn't get the time and day to step into it and think about it for a second. Flory's lob threat range and versatility, Raashaan, his catch range, right? It's like he could go up and it looks like he's about to have the greatest slam ever, but he knows he may not finish it. He'll come down with it without losing it and go bounce back up before you can even think about going back up and put it in over you. So, that being an additional thing, there's so many guys that I don't know if I'm just going to throw it anyway at the rim. He is methodical in his approach to finishing around the basket on top of being an engine, a works. So,
Yeah.
Malachi don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
Give him
Yeah. I
two
mean,
nods. I'll give Flory
I
two
agree.
nods over Malachi.
Yeah. Definitely Flory Badunga, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Is going to be the ACC Defensive Player of the Year more than likely. He's going to be a first-team All-American. This is no slight to Malachi Moreno. I think that he will improve. He's a young man that works hard. He's going to get better. He ain't getting that much better. So, give me Flory Badunga absolutely in that matchup. He's going to be a nightmare for pretty much every bench. Yeah. And I was going to say, and that's last but not least, we got the bench mob for both teams. You have, of course, London Johnson, Deshane Montgomery, Boyan Jang, as well as Gabe Dines and Obena Akizi with Isaac Ellis chilling in the corner. You got that group for for Louisville, and then for Kentucky, of course, Justin McBride leading the guys off the bench, as well as Jerome Morton, Kemp Nong, Trent Noah,
bunch of Jags outside of McBride, bunch of Jags.
The bench is kind of terrible. The Kentucky bench, I'm sorry, I apologize, Kentucky, but bench is kind of terrible, man. I'm not, they got the kid, who was the kid that redshirt, Braden Hawthorne, he redshirted last year. They got Hawthorne's brother now. They got the young man, Mo Williams' son.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Jags. Just another guy.
The Louisville bench is just much better, much more experienced, much more talented. I mean, outside of McBride and maybe if Trent Noah improves, I don't know what you have on that.
Has guys that were starting on other ACC teams.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even close between in the benches, honestly. And this is the thing. Kentucky people just keep on just trying to I understand the starters are solid. You can when we had the conversation of the starters, they're at least in the same range. But once you get into the depth of the benches and rotations, it just becomes a landslide for the Cardinals. So give me the Louisville bench. Right now, Roman, how are you feeling? Louisville not having a win on the road in Rupp since 2008. Early, before we've seen these teams do anything. How are you feeling about it? Is Louisville going to, be able to get it done? Are they going to be able to walk into Rupp and come out with a victory for the first time in 20 years?
I think so. I'm feeling it. Obviously, I don't know if you made me put a percentage on it. I'm thinking there's a 74% chance right now with the way I feel on the two rosters and the two coaches and what they should and could be capable of with these two rosters. I mean, 74% chance Louisville gets the job done. I'd be higher. Just it gets so weird when we get down in Lexington, Raashaan. I don't know what it is. Right?
Since the rivalry was renewed, Roman, in 83 when they had the Dream Game, and they started playing on an annual basis, Louisville has only won in Lexington 4 times.
I thought it was 3. So that's that means there's feel like we have the a whole tier better team and have lost. And that's kind of what I can't be surprised if that happens. So, neutral court, 88% chance Louisville wins the game. Yum Center, I'm going 91% chance Louisville wins the game. Having not seen them play, I'm crazy. I got to drop below 75%, unfortunately, when we're talking about Rupp Arena. Probably should be under 70% and above 65%, but that's where I'm at. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I love Louisville's chances. I've seen too many good Louisville teams go in there and not win, though. Even a couple years ago when David Johnson, if he just hits his free throws, when Coach Mack was still here, if they can just hit their free throws, Louisville probably wins in Lexington. Like you said, a lot of weird things happen. I'm leaning Louisville's way for sure. I love the depth. I think the fact that Louisville's going to try to get an up and down game. If Kentucky has to get into a shootout and get into that bench, I just feel like Louisville has too many too many horses, too much physicality. I think the Louisville's a very tough matchup for Kentucky overall because of their the amount of size, the amount of physicality, the fact that Kentucky is kind of soft in the middle outside of Moreno.
Yep.
I can see Moreno get into foul trouble because Louisville's just throwing so many bodies at him and he's having to give extra effort. That was one of the big issues with Moreno this past year, is that he had a tendency to pick up fouls a lot. He would pick up early fouls and get saddled with foul trouble against bigger, more physical teams. That's something he's going to have to work on. I'm leaning Cardinals. I think they're going to get the win for the first time in Lexington in a very, very long time. But like you said, confidence level 70% tops, because it's just so I've seen too many good teams go in there and it'd be a house of horrors. So that's where we're at with it. Definitely love the breakdown, Roman. Before we get out of here, gotta ask you about these NBA finals. The San Antonio Spurs climbed to the mountaintop. They were able to scale the mountain. Wemby was crying. Wemby was inconsolable in his excitement over beating the Thunder. The Knicks fans are saying that because he was crying, he already thinks that it's over with. He's not going to be ready, and New York's going to knock him on his ass. What do you think, and how are you feeling about this finals as we get ready to get going tomorrow?
I've been going back and forth, Raashaan, not necessarily on the winner of the series. I have been leaning leaning towards the Spurs. I've been leaning towards the Western Conference team that's had to go and see see the true dangers of NBA basketball out there in the Western side. I don't think the Knicks are prepared for that level of physicality. And then when I go into a specific matchup, the Spurs have 4 guys who can all guard Jalen Brunson, right? 3 who can guard him. In Harper, Vassell, and Stephon Castle, obviously. 4, I think De'Aaron Fox has the quickness to stay in front. We'll see if he has the health to.
And don't sleep on Carter Bryant either, Roman. Don't sleep on Carter Bryant.
Yeah, if they've got to switch Carter Bryant on to Brunson in the minutes he's out there, you feel good about Carter Bryant's chances as well. I feel like that's tough because it's a rookie in the finals, and Brunson's like, Brunson knows how to take advantage of somebody who beats him to the spot. There's not a lot of guys. The one thing I will always respect and commend Brunson for is his ability to counter when somebody beats him with athleticism on the defensive end. Got the what? Because he has to. He has no choice. He doesn't have the athleticism to combat it. He has to have the deepest bag of tricks, and the fact that he works at those so effortless, so tirelessly, to where he can keep his dribble alive even against the defender. Like you're going to see Carter Bryant D him up, stick him up, beat him to the spot, and Brunson get by him, get to the other side, head fake, and now it's an and one. That rolled around the rim, right?
He scored 61 the last time they played in March. The Brunson scored 61 in a win in New York.
So he can already start. I mean, we need to look at that. Look at the rotations for the Spurs in that one. See if there was maybe somebody out. But I expect him to have good games in this series. But I expect him to have some inefficient games in this series. And when your best player can have games where they're inefficient, and I don't see that happening on the other end, even though it's going to. Wemby's going to have a game with less than 15 points and less than 10 rebounds in that same game, right? He's going to put 12 points and 12.7 rebounds and go 6 for 13 from the field. He's going to have a game like that. If he can limit that to maybe one game, they win the series. And then Cat, I can't fathom Cat being a plus player in more games in this series than not. Does that make sense? Right? If it goes to 7, he's going to be a minus player in 3 of the games out of the 7. So he hasn't been that yet for them in the playoffs. After game 3 against the Atlanta Hawks, that will shift back in this series. You're going to see that inefficient Cat come out, that complaining Cat, that driving, picking his dribble up at the free throw line and taking the 2 longest strides where he looks like he's trying to sell that he just got stabbed in the neck during his drive attempt. And Wemby's just sliding his feet and keeping his hands up, and he's going to throw it up there and look around crazy at the rim. He's going to do it again 2 minutes later, and then he's going to be rattled the rest of the game. And you're not going to see that point forward, point Jokic, Cat Jokic hybrid that you've seen these last 2 rounds. So that's just my take on it. With that being said, Spurs in 7.
Ooh, okay. For me, Roman, watching the way the Cleveland Cavaliers started that series against New York and watching the Cleveland defense just completely stifle the Knicks, watching Cleveland continually play outside of that, whatever the hell they called that defense in game 2, where they just tried to double team Brunson the whole game and leave everybody wide open. Outside of that, Cleveland did a pretty decent job, even though the Knicks were able to consistently pick on James Harden because, the Cleveland decided to try to play James Harden like it was 10, 12 years ago and play him 35, 38 minutes when James isn't able to do that. The problem for the Knicks in this series starting tomorrow, Roman, is that there ain't nobody that the Knicks can pick on to create a double team. And the problem is this. If you don't have to double team, none of those dudes for the Knicks outside of Brunson can create any offense for themselves. Like, all those guys have to be set up to be able to shoot the ball. Now, whoever Wemby guards, if they have Wemby kind of sliding over to guard Jason Hart, then maybe he can get some open 3-point shots from the corner like Caruso did in game 1. But outside of that, to where you catch Wemby roaming, the rest of those guys, they're not going to leave OG Anunoby open. They're not going to leave Mikal Bridges open. They're not going to leave, Justin McBride
and they're not going to have lousy defenders on them. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are not going to eat like they just did in these last 2 series with smaller perimeter guys on them.
No, and honestly, I'm going to be real with you. Because of just the defense, I'm not even going to get into the Spurs offense. The Spurs defense is just too good. The Knicks are going to have all types of problems getting to 100 points in this series. I'm just telling you. And if the Knicks can't get to 100 points, any game where they don't reach 100 points, the Knicks will lose. So I'm taking the Spurs. I'm taking the Spurs in 5. And I'm being nice in saying the Spurs in 5 because I think the Knicks will find a way to steal one at home. Because I think this is just a mismatch. The Spurs are too big. They're too athletic. They're too good defensively. Like, I don't even care. I'm not even talking about Champagnie getting hot and shooting well from 3. I'm not talking about Devin Vassell knocking it down from 3. I'm not even talking about any of that. Just from a defensive standpoint, I don't know how the Knicks are going to score enough points to stay in this series. I just think that, rather than playing a 6 seed and a 7 seed, in the first 2 rounds, and then a Cleveland team that turned the ball over a million times and had an old man out there trying to play defense. I just think this is a completely different animal, Roman. Give me the Spurs in 5, and I don't think it's particularly close. Wemby cuts them down, gets his first championship.
I like it. I'm with you.
There we go. Well, Roman, I appreciate you, brother, for the extended breakdown 502. Good luck to you and all the things you're doing. We're going to have you on and about with all the things that we got upcoming. As we go through the summer, we'll have you back on definitely for Breakdown 502. We'll have the NBA Finals. We'll probably have a Breakdown 502 kind of focusing on the finals either as it's going on or once it wraps up to get your thoughts on the season. We're also going to look at the NBA draft upcoming. I want to get your thoughts on that. As that gets closer, NBA Summer League, I want your thoughts on that. So we have much, much more to get into, Roman, but I appreciate you for joining us, man. Thanks so much, brother.
Of course. Thank you so much, Raashaan, and thank you to the listeners as well. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy.
There we go. And like we always say, without struggle,
there is no progress. Feeling that one heavy these days.